If you watched my last video, you're probably noticing that I have the same shirt on, but that's because I'm recording both of these videos back to back. And I was initially going to do just one video, but then I said this is probably better to split it into two. It'll confuse people less. So last week I posted a video on YouTube testing out a Sony 18mm to 105mm f4 lens. This thing is old. It's like a 2013 lens, and I bought it used on eBay. I got it for like $385, and it retails for $600 brand new. So good savings. Promoting that eBay used lens buying. I've used the lens a little bit more, and I wanted to go deeper into an actual review. So I'm going to switch back and forth between talking about it and then showing the actual footage and pictures that I've taken. I switched a couple of months ago from APS-C system to Sony's full lens system. So I purchased an A7C, and I've been going out and buying a bunch of lenses for that. But this Sony, this little guy, it's been with me for a long time, and I made a previous video, the one that you'll see me in the same shirt on. When I bought this camera, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I bought a lot of prime lenses, and a lot of prime lenses that sort of overlapped with each other, right? So it was like 16, like a 24 or 35. Shouldn't have done that, right? Should have bought a zoom. So when I go out now and I want to use this camera, I don't want to have to keep switching between lenses. So I wanted to buy a zoom. I wanted to buy a zoom for this camera. It's just leave it on, pick it up when I want to use it, and then like if I don't want to take the A7C out to the beach or something like that, I'll use this. I had a very traumatic experience. I took this thing out to the beach in like September, and I didn't know about like sand getting into the sensor and onto the back of the lens, and like I was terrified. I ended up getting like a cleaning kit to clean the sensor and to clean the lenses, and I thought I ruined the camera, and it really freaked me out. I'm not inherently motivated to bring my nicer camera to the beach, so this guy. And I wanted more range, and I don't want to be in a situation where I'm taking the lens off as much, especially if I'm outdoors, because of the aforementioned problem. So when I was looking at options for this camera, I put myself under certain budget requirements. I didn't want to spend a lot of money for a camera that is not my primary. I'm not going to use as much. It's basically my backup. There are a lot of options in the Sony lens area for APS-C. There's a lot of zoom options. Sony has a couple of different classes of lenses. This is a G-rated lens, which I'm actually surprised about. The price ranges from about $550 all the way up to about $1,200 for Sony-made lenses, zoom lenses for APS-C. And there's a variety of them. There's a cheaper lens at about $550 that goes from 18 to 135, but the aperture goes from 3.5 all the way up to 5.6. So not as good light management for that particular lens. And I think that lens maybe would have been a kit lens for some cameras. So I've read some reviews, and people basically said to go with this one. Then there's some nicer lenses, Carl Zeiss lenses or something like that, that again, they have some zooms that are a little bit more expensive. The aperture ratings are a little bit better. And then there are situations where it'll go from 18 to 200. Now, if you have the money and you have an interest in like wildlife photography, maybe that's a better lens for you to get because you have an extra 100 millimeters of punch out, of zoom, that you can get with that lens. And again, those are typically the ones that are over $1,000. Brand new, not used. Tamron has a new lens coming out that I think is 17 to 70. Now that's a very attractive lens for me. It's f2.8 consistent through the zoom, so it'll stay at f2.8 the entire time, and it has image optical stabilization, whatever their version of it is. This lens also has that, by the way, which was another reason why I wanted to buy it, because I have the shakiest, worst hands in the history of taking photographs and video. I'm terrible at it. I have to use a tripod and I have to use a stabilizer. So the fact that this lens has image stabilization was a huge selling point for me. That Tamron lens is either $800 or $900, and it literally just came out, so I don't imagine that there's going to be availability on the used market for quite a while. But if you have the money, honestly, and APS-C is like, this is your wheelhouse, this is the lenses that you use, I would totally buy that one. I have a full frame Tamron 17 to 70 or 24 to 70 lens, and that thing is beautiful. It's 2.8, it's weather sealed, it's a great lens. Very, very happy with Tamron. So I would recommend that one if you have the money and you want the better aperture performance. But this one was $385 used. It wasn't $800, and it's going to sit in a bag for most of the time. So I'm very comfortable with the purchase. Metal lens, right? The lens is metal. It's got this, let's see if this will pick this up. It's got the zoom control built into the lens. Not many lenses I've seen have this, and it kind of gives you a smooth pull if you're going in or out. So that's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have that, especially, again, if you're an individual like myself that doesn't have the steadiest hand. What I'll say from a performance perspective, in the limited interactions that I've had with the lens and that I've taken so far, I can tell that it's not as sharp as my full-frame camera lenses. So the pictures that I've been taking with the A7C, with the lenses that I've purchased with the A7C, they're nicer, right? It's a bigger sensor. I get that. But even, I have a 35mm 1.8 that I bought for the APS-C camera for the 5100. And this takes beautiful pictures. I'll post some pictures probably right now. That was the day that I went to the beach and got sandal inside the gears. Even at the 1.8 35mm, very, very nice, sharp, beautiful pictures. Not necessarily seeing the same performance with the f4 18-105. And again, that's the benefit of a prime. That's what you expect. You expect the prime to take better pictures. I was expecting a little bit more, a little bit nicer at f4. A lot of the reviews for this lens, and one of the reasons why I wanted to buy it, is people say this lens is like a tank. It's not weather sealed, which, but I wanted something sturdy and durable. And the fact that this lens, I think it came out in 2013, the fact that this one physically exists, the fact that people are still doing reviews about this lens 7 or 8 years later, it's a good lens. Sony makes good lenses. They put good quality, they put good product together. That's not something you really have to worry about, I guess. You know, it's funny, I'm getting confused. The lens that I have on the A7C that I'm filming on is an f4 16 to 35 that I bought used. But it's an f4, but it's for the full frame. So I keep looking at the lens and thinking that's the one that I'm talking about, and then I'm zoning out. General piece of advice, and I said this in the previous video, but if you haven't seen it, if you're just starting out with a camera and you're not sure what to buy a zoom lens that has a wide range, right? So exactly this. Get something that you can go wide on. So if you're, putting it in front of your face and you have some options for vlogging, right? At 18mm, it works quite well. And then you can punch in. You can go up to 105 if you need to zoom in and get close to something. Again, you probably want more for wildlife photography, but it doesn't hurt, right? 100. I don't know, my loudness, I probably need like a 300mm lens so I don't scare off whatever wildlife I would be attempting to shoot. Give yourself a zoom lens. You want those zoom lenses if you can afford it, and if it's available to you, get as wide of a range as you can, and then figure out what your niche is. It's better to have like one that kind of does it all, and then you can start to specialize. That's my advice. That's my advice after buying a bunch of lenses, and then you're like, oh, this kind of overlaps. I wasn't smart about the lenses that I bought. I really, really did a bad job. I bought a lot of lenses that I shouldn't have. And again, if it were up to me, if I could redo it all again, and I have with the A7C, try to get lenses that kind of cover the ranges that you need. I bought a 18 to 35, this one. Then I have a Tamron that basically goes from 24 to 70. Then I have an 85mm prime. And I have a 20mm prime. Right? So the next one, if I buy another lens for the A7C, I would really only go 70 or 85 plus and get another zoom, and then I call it a day. Done. You know, a lot of people say go out and buy a 50 millimeter, the nifty 50, right? But I have that Tamron that takes beautiful pictures at 2.8, and why would I go out and buy a 50 millimeter prime when I can do the same thing with the zoom? If you're a portrait photographer, you probably want a 50 millimeter prime, but I'm not, right? I make videos and then I take some pictures randomly. This lens is well built. If you can get it used, it's really affordable price. Again, it retails for $600. I got it for $385 plus $20 in shipping. It came in good shape. There's a couple dents on there, right? But it's the price you pay for used. It still works. So I'm going to cut over to actually using this camera so you can see what it does. You don't need to hear me talking about it anymore. Just a fair warning, like no microphone port on the A5100, so the audio is going to get crappier. Decided to take this thing outside while it was still sort of daylight out. So again, this is a test of the Sony 18-105mm f4 outdoor shot. It's kind of cold out here. It's currently at 18. I'm going to punch it in. Nice smooth performance. Again, that image stabilization that's built into the lens is very nice. Nice to have, especially for someone who is terrible at taking pictures like myself. Smooth all the way up. The trees, again, I'll zoom back out. You know that trigger on the side that I had mentioned in the video, it does come in handy. It's nice in the hand because again, you're using two hands to stabilize, and you can kind of punch in on that. I have to say that being outdoors, the camera is looking and performing a lot better outdoors than it was inside. I'm actually impressed with the sharpness here. Oh, how nice. A propane tank that's been left outside for many months. Nice sharpness. The autofocus works very quickly. I mean, again, for something sort of tan and blobby, it really kind of punches in fairly quickly. So here's a selfie shot. I'm holding the camera by the barrel. I'm holding it by the actual lens, and I'm looking at myself here. The autofocus seems to be hitting pretty quick. It's zooming in. It looks good. Go like this. Darker over here, right? You can see sort of kind of going a little bit blurry in the background. Maybe when I'm editing, I'll see if there's any bokeh situations happening here. Really not expecting great bokeh on a f4 lens and a zoom lens, especially now going this wide. I always seen that Christopher Frost photography. He always uses like a Coke can. I didn't even know I had Coke in the house, but I'm going to try this. I'm going to do some zoom in and zoom outs on this Coke can. So down, fairly clear, down, clear. I'm going to punch in. Going to go up to, you hear my family? So loud. So down. Fairly quick. I'm at about 105 here again. All right, it's down, punch. See that shaky hand? Lord only knows what it would be on a non-stabilized one. I shut the other camera down. I already like dismantled it. So don't expect a phenomenal corner performance in this. It gets a little bit dodgy in the corners. There's some color aberration, especially when you start to punch in. But you know, it self-corrects if you dial up the aperture somewhat. At the end of the day, this is an all-arounder. It's not a super performance lens, but again, you get it at the right price. it's not a bad choice. It's pretty nice. So, yeah. Yeah.